Yes, I am here, Michelle.
Okay, Neha,
You
how are
can hear
you?
me fine.
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you for
Good,
joining.
thank you.
I have introduced you before, but if you want to spend some words, or if you want to start to the speech, please be be your owner about your time. Okay?
Sure, I think I have 15 minutes, so let me start first by sharing my screen, and if someone can confirm that you can see it, then we'll get moving.
Uh, yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay,
And now it disappear.
okay, just give me a second. Yeah, is this better now?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. All right, so I'll just start with a quick introduction of mine before I go on and present the slide deck to you all. Thank you, Michelle, for inviting me here, and I'm glad to be here and speaking to all of you on the topic of data governance. Just for a introduction, quick introduction of mine, I have had multiple roles in different industries. I've worked FMCG sector in Colgate Palmolive, and then worked in banking. And from last 7 years, I've been working with a shipping company you might have heard of by the name of AB Moller Maersk, which is world's largest shipping company. And I've held multiple leadership roles in the company, and from couple of years, I'm handling their data space for my company there. And there, my current title is Head of Enterprise Data Governance. I'm also a certified. I'm also certified from DEMA, like what Loretta was mentioning just uh, in CDMP certification in data governance. I'm academically, otherwise, I have a master's in business administration. And yeah, I hope so. We have had a very tedious journey, and but a very successful journey, if I can say so, in Maersk in the last couple of years. And I'm hoping that I can bring some of the examples to you. And the topic I wanted to talk to you today about is a little subjective. I understand that, but I wanted to talk on a challenge which I believe most of us have faced when we start talking about that we need to do something about setting up a governance in our organization. And that is, how do you build a data culture? How do you bring that data mindset in your top leadership, in other layers of your organization? And that is something which I have personally struggled with a couple of years back. And there have been some wins for us lately, and I thought that would be a good topic for us to relate and talk about, and hopefully discuss in if we have some time left for Q&A, maybe after this session. So I hope now you can see my screen where you can see a slide deck. If
Yes,
someone
perfectly.
say yes, okay. Great. So yeah, we have, you already know the topic, so we'll move on to the next slide. So I think the best way to start a conversation around this is if we ask ourselves these questions, that if any of you have ever faced these questions, or if any of you have faced challenges which I have put on my screen, then you definitely need to invest towards a data-led culture. And we will come to the point where why we are saying that a data led culture can probably solve it all. We'll come to that later, but let's hear some examples, some questions, and some experiences which I have had. The first one, of course, most common one, is data quality related. If you have ever had issues with inaccurate data and unreliable data, which probably is impacting a new system which you are trying to build in, I've invested a lot into building that system, but it's not just performing as per your expectations. Or if you are having issues around business performances or bad customer experience, and customers can be both internal and external, right? Second area can be if And that's applicable for most of the companies, especially big enterprises nowadays. We have very stringent data privacy laws in most of the countries. We are on the road to get a data privacy law in India also, where I am from. But we do have GDPR, which is followed by many companies, especially in European nations. And it's very important for us to show compliance and show the proof of compliance to these regulations. The third area, which I believe sometimes gets unnoticed, is do we have the data in the hand of people who need it, right? So that's where we talk about the concept of data democratization. So which is a very I would say it's a slightly fancier term in this field, because this is something which we have started hearing about very recently, but very basic aspects. So I've taken an example here. Think of a scenario where sales teams across different business units do not have access to the customer segmentation data. So they do not know which customer is the target customer. And maybe that data is available only in silos in some areas. So how do you make that possible? And that's where the aspects of data access becomes very important. The other areas which can make you invest in a data culture of your organization is sometimes we see that, especially it's true with bigger organizations again, right? But it can also happen in any size of the organization, is when for your key master data, the decisions are being taken in silos. I have taken an example of vendor master data, where usually you have stakes from finance, from procurement, from operations, but you can also take example of customer master data, which is used across different business, right? So where do you, how do you decide where's the decision making, where does it stay? So those kind of questions cannot get answered if you do not have a culture where everybody agrees the importance of good data management and they really want to work towards it. And then you can talk about aspects like having a data owner and having a functional data owner and so on. And if we get enough time today, I'll touch upon those aspects too. The last couple of points are especially, and this is sort of a basic, right? We are talking about data, but do we know what our data is? So have we identified our data? What data exists right now? What does it mean? So data definition and business glossary. And the reason I've tried to link this to data culture is, and I probably can assume that some of you are already on an advanced stage of your data journey, and some of you probably are just starting. So you will find out, or you have probably found it already, that there has to be significant investment which needs to be brought in all of these topics, in fixing all of these topics, and investment in terms of both organization resources and investing into new technology, bringing in the right data management tools and so on. Like if you want to do good data definition or business glossary, there are a lot of metadata management tools available. Informatica provides a lot of new tools. Specifically, Axon has been brought in, and so all of that. And that brings me to the last point is, unless you have sponsorship from your leadership, unless you have your chief technology officer or chief commercial officer and chief financial officer, these are the three main C-level executives who will really buy in the power of investing into data, because these are the three places where you can really show the impact of not doing data management. Like finance, a CFO will be worried about duplicate invoices being paid out to vendors, and that's money out of the door, right? So so those kind of discussions should happen where you engage with C-level executives, and if you're managing data for your organization, if you are in that position, then you sort of change their way of looking at investment in this area. And that you can do when you sort of link the data issues and the impact they're having on their area, and then sort of bring that buy-in. So I think we have invested a lot of time on this slide, but it's just was to make sure that we understand that these are issues which all of us face, and the reason why we need to talk about this, right? Moving on. So when I was thinking about today's session, and I wanted to speak about data culture, there are many ways in which you influence data culture. Of course, one way is you show results and so on, right? But there are two things which kind of stand out for me. The first one is you can really influence your data culture if you invest in data ownership, and the second one, which you will see in the subsequent slides, is that you really invest in building data forums or data governance councils, or data excellence councils, you can call them by any name. So these are the two things I thought I'll focus today, because we don't have a lot of time on our hands, and I think these are the most important ones. So let's start with data ownership, right? I'm sure all of you have heard of this if you are working in data space, and I don't need to probably sell you the importance of identifying data owners, but I will do it anyway for the sake of flow of this session. Is so a few things which I learned over the years is when you talk about data ownership, it's usually a challenging topic, because you are usually going to someone and asking them to take on additional responsibility where they need to be responsible for something, right? And then you're sort of telling them that, you know what, if this goes wrong, then it's your head on the line, and you're not getting anything extra in return of this. So you have to do it just on top of your current job. So that conversation will never end good, right? Even if you have the mandate, even if you are in that position where you can have that conversation, you will not get the required efforts from the data owners. Even if you onboard them, they will not do as much to the data quality, for example. So that's why the conversation to data ownership has to be held in a way where you enable them. And how do you enable them? I am assuming that there is a central data governance team, however small or big it might be. And that team is constantly working to create data standards, data policies, on bringing in the right tools and focusing on data quality on a central level, and thus helping these data owners who are probably coming from different functions of your organization. So you enable them first. So you basically start your conversation by saying that, you know what, we are trying to set up this, this, and this, and you have been identified because you know the best about this particular data set, and hence you are going to be accountable for these 5 KPIs and so on, right? And then you govern this through a central governance team. That's the idea. There's the assumption that you should have one. If you don't, then invest in it, please. And what I thought I'll do is I'll put some, how do you measure that you have successfully tackled the topic of data ownership? Is when you have identified all the different data roles, you have associated responsibilities for these roles. You have to clearly write in lines what does a data owner supposed to do, what are data stewards supposed to do, and so on. And of course, make it customized to your organization. Don't just copy paste it from a DEMA handbook or something. But DEMA would be the best place to start if you are referring, if you want a clear reference to what kind of data roles there should be. And then you should really talk about these roles and responsibilities. The way we have done it is we sort of conducted different workshops across different business functions and different business units, and you socialize these. And the next step would be more executional in nature, where you onboard the people. So you usually get nominations from senior leadership. You go to a finance leader, and then you find out the key people from him who might be responsible for finance master data. And then you have meetings with these set of people, and you identify who are the right people for what roles. Because someone at probably a lower hierarchical level in the organization would be more suited for a data maintainer or data steward role, but somebody who is at a mid-level will probably take on a responsibility of a data owner. And next thing, what you do is once you have, and I think these two steps are sort of, is that you map each data owner to their data object. So you know who is the data owner for your customer data, who is the data owner for your vendor data, and your geography data and assets and so on, right? I also want to talk to you a little bit about document management or content management here, because I think this is one key aspect which we tend to forget, and we have also done that mistake in the past. There are many enterprise-wide tools which are currently available, where you can store this information, where you can map the data to its data owner and keep it centrally stored, where you can do a sustained maintenance of that. And there is, and this is something which I personally highly recommend, that you should invest in that tool, because that makes flow of information very easy. There you can sort of save yourself from countless emails going back and forth. Even if that's not available, that's not feasible, you're not getting approvals, just maintain that information in a centrally available Excel sheet and give access to the right people. So those are the few aspects which I truly believe in. Just for your reference, easy reference, and is something which I've just taken from DEMA. I also, as if you have probably already noticed, I refer to DEMA handbook a lot in working in this field. So these are the key roles. Business roles are data owners, data stewards, business process analysts or process architects who will focus on creating your data maintenance processes. And one of the role which is sort of optional is data maintainer. And sometimes you have data maintainers who also work as data stewards and vice versa. But sometimes you want, if the data is complex enough, then you want responsibilities anchored with two different people on this. And I don't think we have enough time, but I also thought it would be a good idea for me to, sort of share how can you identify a data. And
yeah, so we are out of time, but if it's possible to join Neha during the group dynamics, that will be the next part.